calories. Let's talk about that. So we have 4 options when we talk about diet and exercise, and I want you to understand that weight loss requires 2 things. Okay? It requires an energy deficit or a caloric deficit, and we can accomplish that through what we put in our mouth and the amount of physical activity that we do. And the second thing is it requires a hormonal balance. Okay? And the level with which we fluctuate with our diet and exercise can definitely affect that hormonal balance. And so let me dive in a little bit deeper with you and explain. So the thing that we're most familiar with when it comes to losing weight, right? What every doctor will likely say is you need to move more and you need to eat less, right? This is every single diet that's ever been out there. And what do we know about diets in general? What does the research say about diets? It says that 95% of diets are largely ineffective, right? And 66% of people that go on diets ended up gaining the weight back plus some. Okay? And the reason for that is because while we are creating a caloric deficit, so we go low calorie, we go high amounts of physical activity, we have a huge metabolic discrepancy which contributes to hormonal imbalances. Does that make sense? So when I talk about hormone imbalances, subjectively I'm talking about hunger, our energy on a daily basis, our cravings, our sleep, our cognitive function, right? Because our metabolism is like a thermostat. And it's very tightly regulated within the body. Our body doesn't want to fluctuate too far one way or the other, or it's kind of, you could think about it as like a pendulum, right? If we're going to swing this way with exercise and nutrition, right, we're going to cut our calories like every diet does by either restricting food or entire food groups and ramping up our physical activity, largely to the degree that's not sustainable. We're going to swing one way. What happens after a period of time? Our metabolism starts to, for lack of a better term, be unhappy with that situation. It's not something that we're going to be able to maintain, right? And this is just a primal instinct that our body goes through. We need to hold on to body fat. This is something that we need to survive. So it's going to kick us the other way. So what happens to hormones? We get hungry. Our energy goes down. We get massive cravings. Our sleep suffers. So it's going to kick us the other way to the degree that we may find ourselves extremely lethargic, craving every single thing in front of us, stuffing our face with every single thing in front of us, and not necessarily understanding why. Okay? And it's not that either of these are necessarily bad. We can use both of these to our advantage in the short term, but understanding that we need to find ways to keep our metabolism a little more tightly regulated. Okay? Is everyone with me there? So what does that leave us? It leaves us with 2 options. The first is to eat less and exercise less. Okay? So our output becomes relatively low, but so does our input. And this is more of what we could imagine our Paleolithic ancestors, cavemen doing. Is there's times when they would not have a lot of access to food, therefore their physical activity levels would be relatively low, to the point where maybe their hormones start to kick in, start to stimulate more hunger, more cravings, so that they're going to have to go out and hunt and forage and find food. Okay, and then on the other side of that is times when we eat more and exercise more. And this eat more, exercise more, we can think about in terms of an athlete, right? What do athletes do? If you've ever been an athlete or you've known high-performing athletes, right? They're going to train hard, but they're going to also eat for their training and their performance. Now, with that eat more, exercise more, and if we think about an athlete, oftentimes they're lean, they have a lot of muscle mass, and they have the types of physiques that a lot of us want to emulate. But what do we do when we want to get an athlete physique? What do we typically come back to? Eat less, exercise more, right? Which is absolutely ridiculous. It doesn't make any sense. So if we can switch between and start to focus on the eat less, exercise less to support our metabolism, and eat more, exercise more to support our metabolism, and stay within these realms realistically on a daily and a weekly basis, then we're going to be much more likely to be able to facilitate whatever caloric deficit we need without sacrificing our metabolic output.